All right, y'all. Today, I'm going to show you how I negotiate with sellers when I'm buying a car from an individual. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a licensed used car dealer, but I get at least 50% of my cars from places besides the dealer auction. I find you can get better deals. So I'll show you some of the tips, tricks, hacks, whatever phrase you want to use, basically just the system that I use when I'm trying to buy cars from individuals. Let's get started. So my system will vary slightly depending on if I have found the car, someone's advertised it, and they have it for sale. Like maybe I found it on Marketplace or I found it on Craigslist or OfferUp or one of them stupid platforms. So it changes slightly. Rather, I found them or they found me. And if you followed my channel, you know I'm big on tiny ads, getting people to call to action to sell me their car. But there's two different systems that are in play, and it is slightly different, rather, who found who. So I'm going to first talk about when I have found a car that someone has listed for sale. How do I go about talking to them about their car? All right, here's how I start this out, and you'll have to apologize. I'm referring to my notes. I haven't really written scripts for my videos, but I have sort of storyboarded them to help me make a little more sense and not miss important facts. So, first thing I want to say is this is the section where if you found the seller, here are some things to keep in mind and some things to ask, and I'll try to explain why I asked them. So first, I want to say, understand most people suck at selling cars. That's in general. They uh, maybe only do it every once in a blue moon. It's not like somebody that's constantly buying and selling. They may or may not have based their price in fact about what that vehicle sells for or what other people are asking. It may be more an emotional decision for them. This was grandma's car. They drove it for a year. Now they're going to get something better, but it's grandma's and it's worth a lot. Okay. So there's a couple of questions that I usually start with to sort of hopefully guide the conversation and the seller's thought process. One of the first questions I ask is, why are you selling your car? If they're selling their car because it was their daughter's car and she drove it in high school and now she's done with high school, so they got her a newer car for graduation, you understand that. If it's, well, it's had a lot of problems and it's just time to get rid of it, that's fine. That car might be perfect for you, but you want to also kind of dig a little bit deeper and say, well, what all have you had to do to it? What's going on with it? If it's maybe a little bit nicer car, or maybe it's an older seller, older meaning 30 to 60. One of the questions I like to ask is, do you know if the recommended maintenance is up to date? Okay. What we're looking for is we're looking to have them have to answer a series of questions that we can then use when it comes to negotiating a lower price. So, do you know the maintenance is up to date? Most people, they don't keep up with their maintenance, especially if you're trying to buy the less expensive two, three, $4,000 car. People just don't do it. Now, if the car is for sale and it has a problem that they're telling you about, um, hey, the check engine light is on. Do you know what that's about? Have you gotten an estimate for that? Or the transmission's starting to slip. Oh, okay. Have you gotten a repair estimate for another transmission? You're wanting them to either say no, so it creates an unknown, or you want them to tell you a price because then you can use that price to say, hey, I'm going to have to spend blah, 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 blah. So those are some questions that I always ask people. Now, if you drove the car, you like the car, you're aware of some situations, um, you want to obviously sort of find where they're hoping to land. So, for argument's sake, let's say they listed the car at $3,000. You've had the conversation. The maintenance isn't up to date. All right. So you've had the conversation. Let's say, for argument's sake, and in case you missed it, I had to cut because somebody came in. The car's listed at $3,000, right? So I would then say, hey, I know you've listed the car at $3,000. I think everybody lists a little bit high because you're expecting some wiggle room. Where were you hoping to land when it was all done and over with? Silence. Go silent. You want them to tell you what they really wanted, because most everybody knows if they list a car at $3,000, they are not getting full price. People want to haggle. So you would say that question. Then you sit and wait. And then they say, well, I was hoping to end up with 2,700. Okay, that's where you stop. And no matter what number you wanted, maybe you were happy with 2,700. Maybe you were happy to pay full price. You say, I don't think we're that far off, but would it be possible to do 2,300? I mean, I have the cash with me now, and this would be done and over with. And then sit quiet. Wait for them to say, yes, I'll take your 2,300, in which case you win big. Or, no, I couldn't do that. If they say, I couldn't do that, say, I understand. I know that's not exactly what you were hoping for. Where could you be where you won't be mad when I leave with your car? What number do you have to have right now? I mean, I know it's maybe not the number that you really wanted, but I'm here. I have cash. I'd like to make a deal. I think we have just a little bit of difference on value. And then sit quiet and see what number they come back with. Now, if you're already happy with paying 25 or 27, whatever their first offer was, and then you ask for a lower offer, don't be afraid to sit quiet and wait for them to come up with a number. People don't like silence. And when it comes to negotiations, whoever speaks first, whoever throws the first number out, they lose. That's the bottom line. And so those are tips that I use. You have to be a little bit more gentle when you're dealing with a guy that has the car, say, listed on Marketplace. Because while you're there looking at it, he might have had three other knuckleheads that have messaged and want to come look. So he knows if he doesn't make a deal with you, chances are he's going to make a deal somewhere else. All right, this is my absolute favorite way to buy cars from individuals. I do not generally peruse any of these apps to find cars. I generally have sellers find me. And I've talked about this a lot of times, and some people have said it works great. Other people, I think, are afraid to try it, or they don't have a mechanism to try it. So if you are a used car dealer and you don't have I buy cars on my website, you are an idiot. And yes, there is a lot of wishful thinkers, a lot of people that have delusional ideas about price. However, there are some bargains to be found. And that is a clear system to get cars. I get people probably once or twice a month. I buy a car that they found my website because it says I buy cars, cash for cars, all those SEO keywords. The next thing I do is I post ads. I post ads all over Craigslist that I buy cars, and they're in varying forms. I buy no title cars. I buy cars that need work. I buy cars with bad transmission. I buy Toyotas and Hondas. Whatever you like, whatever ad seems to work best for you. I have probably 30 ads running at a time. I delete and repost, and those people find me. Another thing that has recently picked up steam for me is this YouTube channel. Just in the last, 60 or so days, I've had 3 people that Googled their title problem, because my channel started out dealing with Texas titles. They Googled their title problem. They found how to cure said problem. And then they basically said, yeah, I see how to do this. That's too much work. Do you just want to buy my car? And so I've picked up some hella bargains lately from people that found me. Now, why do I like it when people find me? Well, the main reason is I'm the only one looking. Okay? There are not people calling them because they've advertised their car, and if I don't buy the car, the next guy will. I'm the only one looking. Generally, these people were not in a sell mindset until they saw my ad, my call to action. Call me, message me, email me. They maybe saw they were cruising through their Craigslist and it said, I buy cars with a bad transmission. And then they remembered, we have this car sitting beside the house. Let me see what he'll give me. And they rely on you for the most part to set the price. And no one else is looking. Also, they haven't become emotionally invested. Like when a guy wants to sell his car, a lot of people, they may take the car and get it washed. They may get the carpet steam cleaned. They may put some seat covers on. They may empty out the bottles of coolant that they've thrown in the back seat because it has a radiator leak, trying to put the best foot forward. A lot of times I buy cars, they're full of trash. There's power steering fluid in the trunk. There's motor oil in the trunk. There's clues as to what the car needs. And the seller has put no effort into getting the car ready for sale. That turns a lot of people off. But for me, that is awesome. That is exactly the kind of car that I want because I know I'm going to get a bargain. So knowing that the people have found you, you have the upper hand. Again, because you're the only one looking. And a lot of times when they find you, they're asking for an estimate of value. Now, me being a dealer, I tell people straight up, I am a used car dealer. It doesn't make sense for me to pay more to you for your car that needs blah, 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 than it does for me to buy a comparable car at the dealer auction that I can sell tomorrow. So I always ask, and this is a phrase that's important to me, is what were you hoping to get on it? The reason we use hoping to, that means that was a hope, a care, an expectation, a desire, hope. You would like to get this number, but you don't know if you will. If you say, what do you want for it? That is a firm thing. I want $3,000. So you want to start right out of the gate with some initial questionability, right? So a lot of times people will ask me, what do I think it's worth or what could I do on it or whatever. So I'll give them a number. Sometimes they're in shock. Sometimes they're okay with it. When I ask people what were they hoping to get on it, some of them, they are a bit high. And I'll say, well, I understand that. I appreciate it. Being a dealer, I would probably be more in the range of $1,500. If that works for you, great. But I understand I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Now, when I go out to look at these cars, yes, they always need something. That's part of how I make my margin. But generally, if we know by one or two emails or text messages with these people, we know if we're going to get the car. So always be friendly. It doesn't have to be adversarial. What were you hoping to get on the car? And yes or no. And that's the bottom line. And I always say, I can do this. I know it might not be what you wanted, but I have money in my hand today and we could get this done. You don't have to worry about people coming out to your house, tire kicking, 10,000, is this available on Marketplace? So what could you do on this car where when I leave, you're not MFing me for screwing you over? And people laugh about that phrase, but they get it. So yeah, they come down and it works out. So that is my number one way that I like to buy cars from individuals. Find a way to get the seller to come to you. If you're a dealer, use your website, use your Instagram, your Facebook, YouTube, and then the Facebook groups are good. When I put my Facebook group ads out, I don't immediately identify myself as a dealer. I say, I'm looking for a used car that maybe needs some work, that might be hard for you to sell, that's in the price range of blah to blah, or year model blah to blah. I don't name a specific price because then everybody wants that price for their car. So you can give a range based on year or model. I usually just stick to the models. I want an 05 to a 15. Because I know those cars generally fall in a price range that my customer will buy. So if you didn't learn anything really from this video, I'm by no means a sales guru. I'm by no means a master salesman. I don't pontificate on YouTube and Facebook all the time about how to negotiate. If there were two things that I would want you to, we'll go with three. If there were three things I'd like you to take away, One, don't be a wiener. Okay? You don't have to be rude to people. You don't have to run down their car. You don't have to laugh at what they're hoping for a price. You simply want to be humble and kind. Two, what were you hoping to get for it? That is a soft number. It's a hope, a desire. It's not an etched in stone number. And three, third thing, silence is golden. A lot of people don't like silence. They're not comfortable with it. But name a price and go silent and make them negotiate against themselves. If you do those three things, it will help you in your negotiations when you're buying used cars.